We talk about shortages and we talk about food shortages, but what are 3 common threats when it comes to our food supply? Why is it so bad? Why is our supply chain so messed up? Well, let's talk about 3 threats, 3 things that could cause more and more and more food issues. When food stops, the world stops. We have to be able to nourish our bodies. Money is one thing, but food pretty much is everything. So let's talk about 3 threats today in this video, and I think you'll start noticing these things around you. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Let's jump into this video today. It's going to be a good one. It starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so much for being here today. If you're new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, that's okay, but let us know what you think about this video. Also, we're going to be doing a giveaway in just about 2 days. So next video, we will talk about a giveaway. The only thing it takes for you to be in the giveaway, to enter into the giveaway, is you subscribing to the channel, you subscribing to the Max Life channel, which is our farm vlog channel. You'll see my kids and my wife in there, a lot more, but we're doing a lot of great things on the farm. We try to teach you some how-tos of how you are starting your gardens, how you raise your food. It's very, very important. So all it takes is you to subscribe to both channels and you'll be entered. We will be discussing what we're going to be giving away in next video. Then we will select one of our lucky subscribers to get that. So remember to subscribe to both channels. Let us know in the comments that you're subscribed and you will be entered into the giveaway. Now let's jump into the subject for today. 3 serious threats when it comes to our food system. This comes from the farm all the way down to the supply chain of the grocery store. So let's jump into number 1. Number 1 is the aging farmer and big business buying the aging farmer or his family out. We have a terrible policy when it comes to our farmers. Our farmers work 24 hours, 7 days a week. Meaning they have food on the ground. They have to make sure that they're watching weather, they're watching everything that goes on when it comes to their crops, because that's how they feed America. The average age of a farmer is late 50s, early 60s. Do you realize it's hard to manage that stress and that kind of time in working 7 days a week when you own milk cows, when you own beef cows, when you have a farm operating to provide food? It's a big deal. And even though I'm against conventional fertilizers, even though I'm against herbicides, I'm against all that, the conventional farms are used to using that. They're used to using medicine, and all those things are going up. So the stress and the strain of not being able to make money, or worried about what goes on, or the labor intensive avenues of not having workers either, all that plays into it. So the aging farmer is a big, big problem. Now, the aging farmer is just part of it. Who buys the farms? Kids are not following their father's footsteps or their mother's footsteps or their family's footsteps and jumping into the farming business. They've seen the hard work and they may not be willing to put that effort in. So what happens? They sell to big business or big ag. Now, do I have a problem with big business or big ag? No, I'm a capitalist, so I do want to see businesses thrive. The problem is when you consolidate and you start bringing only just a few companies that owns and operates these farms and all this farmland, that means it could be very dangerous because they hold all the cards. It's kind of like our chicken industry. We have like 4 big players in the chicken industry. The one in Mississippi that was found in Mississippi is pretty much being bought out, or has been bought out by another big company. So we're down to 3 or 4 big players when it comes to chicken, 3 or 4 big players when it comes to beef, and a lot of the beef is not even here in America. A few big players that are Chinese based in the pork industry. So when we start seeing that consolidation, those big ag companies, those big business buys in, 2 things: they're going to want to cheapen how they raise the food. Is it good quality food, which I don't believe spraying it makes good quality food, but I digress. But also allows them to hold the cards, meaning whatever their agenda and policy is, that means they get to decide what goes to market and what doesn't, what food will be grown, what doesn't. Most of America depends on other people growing their food. They're not growing a lot of their own food. So you need to grow it for one thing, but because of the aging farmer and because of the sale of the farms, number 1 would be dangerous, because big business is buying all these farms, and because they hold all the cards, then they can manipulate what's sold, the price it's sold, and how valuable it is to the consumer. That's a lot of control for just a few companies to have. Number 2 is climate change. Now, not the climate change you're thinking about. I'm not talking about just the weather. I'm talking about the thought of climate change and the quote-unquote emergency around it. It is hurting our farms, it's hurting how we grow food. The government is pushing against farmers. Now, how do I say that? Now, let's not talk about the Dutch farmers, because that's across the world. Let's not talk about the war in Ukraine, that's across the world. Both of those things are impacting the food supply. But I'm talking about here in America. We see more bans and more regulations on the local farms. If it's through land taxes or estate taxes, most farmers don't just roll in the dough. Their assets are based in the land. Well, all of a sudden, if the aging farmer passes and does want to hand it to the kids end up having to pay massive loads of money and taxes based on that land. Now let's talk about the crops. If we're growing crops, the government is only subsidizing certain crops, such as your cash crops or your GMO crops that supposedly feeds America. So they may subsidize only certain things to grow. They also want to put more regulation on the carbon side, on the meat side. We've seen that. We've talked about all these details when it comes to the government pushing against the farmer. So already stressed as a farmer to grow something, it's going to be harder for that farmer to get the food supply that needs to be to market because of the cost, the regulation, the manipulation, and also the fact of the carbon footprint. Now, I don't believe that climate change is affected by a cow like they're saying. I believe they want you to believe that. I believe it's just a complete psyop. We can't affect the weather. The weather will change over time. Again, as someone who is God-fearing and believes in Christ, we're going through cycles. There's times of rain, there's times of drought, there's ups, there's downs when it comes to growing. That even happens on our local farm too. But the problem is, all the farmers have more push against them. You're going to see more farmers not have the land, not grow the food, and the food they're going to be growing is not good quality, or the shortages will be there. Everything's going to always be blamed on climate change, so that means the government is not going to help back the farm. And now here's another problem. We're seeing more and more and more unnatural food being made. We've talked GMO, we've talked bioengineered, we talk about a lot of those foods. Well, now we're seeing meat do the same thing. We're producing meat as a society, even in America, to be sold to us that's not even real meat. This will cause more health problems than we have ever seen, and that's going to change food indefinitely. Like we said in a few videos ago, the more sickness we have, I think it goes back to the food and the unnatural ways that we're raising it instead of the natural ways. So the aging farmer, the consolidation of the farm, and so number two is the government pressing on the farmer. Not only that, they're going to press on the food supply chain. If we're not able to raise as much food here locally in America, and we're looking at this globalist push, that means we are depending on the grains across the world. That means we're depending on the weather to be great across the world. Well, when we don't have that independence, it means everybody's vying for the same foods across the world. It becomes a competition, so it's going to cost more to get that food brought in. Then all of a sudden we see pushes against petroleum, against trucking, against all those things. How are we going to get the food to market if we're paying people to stay at home and not work? If we're trying to get away from oil supply and filling up our vehicles, so it's going to cost more to truck it across the United States. So the agenda that the government is pushing not only is hurting the farm, not only hurting the farmer, it's going to hurt the supply chain as a whole. If they can get you away from the natural foods and get you on all this other junk, then again, that allows them to manipulate the food the way they want to. That will hurt the food system. This is a big threat to the food supply. We touched on this just a second ago, but number three is too many hands in the supply chain. Everybody wants a cut. So therefore, by the time it actually gets to you, because we're not eating farm to table anymore, because we're not growing our own food as a populace, then it has to go through 5, 10, 15 people before it gets to you. So it's making the cost of your food go up. So therefore, we're leaning more on processed foods, which is causing a health scare because people are getting fat, lazy, and sick. Fat, lazy, and sick. You can see it around you. Look at the last few years here in America, what we've done to our populace because of the trash food that we've been getting. But it's all because the supply chain is breaking down because we have too many hands in the market. So we go from the farmer or the consolidated farmer, then we go to the processor or the first processor, then we go to another big business that's actually gonna sell it to the grocery stores, then we go to from the wholesaler to the retailer then has to sell it to us. It's trucked all the way throughout the whole process. So the supply chain is based on too many hands getting into the market. I challenge you, go back to community supported agriculture. Look for farm to table, look for the farmers markets, look for ways that you can support the local farmer. We've talked about this with Azure Standard, how we order a lot of our groceries, the ones that we can't grow. It goes through some of those processes. It's a more quality, holistic style of food. It's not been chemicalized, so you know it's better and fresher than some of the ones you may buy from a local grocer. But the benefit is I can order from them, they can literally freight it, and it skips all the supply chain issues. It goes from the truck to us. It doesn't go to this max wholesaling plant. It doesn't go to the retail giants, the grocery stores. It bypasses all that and comes directly to you. So there's holes in the supply chain. It's because there's too many hands. That is a huge threat. We were talking just a second ago about the wheat across the world. Because we're rethinking this globalist agenda, we're rethinking food, we're making it harder for that globalist food to come to us. Like we were talking with the Dutch farmers, that provides a ton of food. Like we talked about Ukraine, provides a ton of food. Well, because we're rethinking this globalist thought on food, then what's going to happen is we have to depend on that broken food chain. Where did we get as a nation to ever think independence was a bad thing? I've yet to figure that out. I don't know why we've gotten to where we are worried about what all these other nations are doing instead of taking care of our own people and making sure they're fed. Feeding America is going to get harder over the next few months and years. Not because we won't have food, it's gonna be because we don't have good quality food. So you may see food, like we talked in the last video, 70% of our food at grocery stores is highly processed trash. It's not food. It's this stuff to make it look like food, or they got so much chemical on them that it takes all the properties out of the food. My milk can only last for about 5 to 7 days. Raw milk, non-pasteurized raw milk, straight out of the cow. I literally take it, pull the buttercream off, and then I drink it. That milk is only good for 4 to 5 days. Why is my milk only good for 4 to 5 days where you can buy in the store that lasts a month? That's probably already been out of the cow, going through all these processes. So it may be a month or two removed from the cow to then all of a sudden it comes to you. Talked to a gentleman yesterday. He said, I used to be lactose intolerant, and then I actually started drinking real milk from a cow, raw dairy milk off the farm. And he said, I didn't have the problems that I was having with milk bought at a grocery store. Why? Because it skipped all that process. It skipped all the junk. It skipped all the hands that actually added stuff to it or needed it to last longer because it had to get to market because it went through 15 people and 15 businesses instead of going from the farm to the table. So the common threats, again, government is not helping the farmer, the aging farmer, the supply chain issues, and the fact that now we're looking globally for food to be provided and looking to these consolidated businesses. All that is causing major threats to our food supply. You have to learn to start providing some of your food. We've talked about it with places like Legacy or My Patriot Supply, some of these local grocery stores that has freeze-dried foods. Put some food up for stockpile, for safety, but go back and start finding ways to stock good holistic food, finding ways to preserve it. Without food, we won't make it. We have to have food and water. We can talk about bartering, we can talk about money, we can talk about all the things that give us that security to know that we're okay. But without food, we're either gonna starve or we're gonna submit. Without food, we're gonna starve or submit. Are you ready for that? Well, no one's ready for that. So let's look at independence again in our local food system. Let's find ways to grow community gardens. Let's look for ways that we can work together and do things as a neighborhood. I've seen community gardens started at churches. I've seen community gardens started in neighborhoods at subdivision spots, so that way they can grow food together. And then we have to look regionally, statewide. We need to start changing some of these policies in these states. It's amazing that I can't sell my raw milk, or I can't sell this meat to a consumer. However, they can go buy fake meat at a local grocery store just because they have big money behind it and big lobbying behind it. That's a broken food system. It's going to really threaten whole foods, good quality foods getting to the consumer, to your table. So the food threat is real. Shortages are happening. I'm going to show you some pictures right now. Now, this is my local Walmart. This is not because of shortage. Now, this is because if you look back in the news lately, there's been a lot of issues with some food being recalled. This is my local Walmart, and we just went in there. We had to pick up some toilet paper or something. I can't even remember, but I want to show you these pictures. Now, this is, I'm not trying to fear monger you. I'm just trying to say, if all of a sudden this happened at your local Walmart, if it could be freezers out, it could be a recall because of packaging, it could be recall because of some kind of bacteria. Remember, too many hands in the supply chain. But this is those pictures. Now that is scary. There was a guy that was going to get milk in front of me, and I was, you know, if you know Walmart, like the sundries, like the toilet paper and all that's kind of close to the milk section. So I grabbed the toilet paper, I grabbed that, and he made the comment, he said, "It's amazing that I live in America and I can't even buy milk. I see it in the back. I see milk behind the freezer section," and they said they cannot put it out yet. He was dependent on that milk. He was dependent on that cheese. And there was tons of people walking back there trying to find out why they couldn't get, you know, yogurt or ham or turkey. It was a big recall. So if that happens at your local Walmart, are you prepared? That's all I'm saying. It's a broken food system. And if you don't start making preparations to take care of your food, then you're the one that's going to either, again, starve or submit. Find independence again, growing food. If you're not growing food, make sure you have a farmer that's close and you encourage him. You give him extra money when he needs it, because ultimately he is providing your lifeline, food. 3 threats that end up being probably like 6 threats in this video to our food supply. It's serious. So prepare your family for it. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below of what are you seeing at your local grocery store. How are you helping your family? Are you buying from Azure Standard? Are you buying from another online grocer that can provide the food? Are you buying from a local farmer? Are you buying your meat in bulk? What are you doing to help your family work through these problems and try to find that independence again? Let me know in the comments below, and remember to subscribe both channels so that way you can be entered in the giveaway we're going to be doing. In 2 days we're going to be talking about what we're giving away, and then again giving it away to our lucky subscribers. So please make sure you are subscribed to that. If you like these videos, check out our newsletter. We get really in depth on it, and I've actually got a good one coming out on the same subject in the coming days. So check out our newsletter. There's a lot of our newsletter that is free, so check it out. If you can pay for some of it, there's some longer, more in-depth knowledge that you'll get there. And also we have some chat opportunities with us and some lives to do some question answering. All that's listed, of course, on the newsletter. But check it out, because I think it's some good reads for you. Also, Misty put some of her favorite recipes that you need to try out. Just yesterday, she put out sourdough starter. Go check out that read, because you need to start providing your own bread. Bread's a big deal. Bread's going to be in shortage because of grain. If you have sourdough, it's a game changer, and you will start learning how to be more independent with your food. Guys, thank you again for watching. God bless you. Happy homesteading, y'all.